Hello there, this is Pighead10 and welcome to your 28th Roblox Lua scripting tutorial. Now first of all, we aren't going to go through the scripting showcase today because we have a different model submitted by Roblox.lua. And this is actually a minigame, like I said in the last tutorial and the previous two tutorials. We're going to be if you keep on sending me in the minigames, and then we'll eventually have enough minigames to actually make a proper game out of this, and it'll be published, and we'll see how many visits we can get it. So I'm not going to insert it into this place. In fact, I'm actually going to insert it into the minigame place. So I've got here now. We're going to insert and see if it works for a start. So don't forget Roblox.lua. If you have Builders Club, and you can send me a link to a shirt for, well, 750 or 1,000 Robux, depending on what you did with the minigame. So let's have a look at this. So remember, we have the same minigame structure, so we've got the same sort of thing here. We've got all of these avoids, POS 1, it's got exactly the same kind of thing. Where's POS? So POS is a place that people teleport to, remember. So everyone's going to teleport to here. There might be a slight problem if there's lots of people in the place, because everyone teleports here and then some people fall off. So we might need to improve on that later on. And then presumably this is just an obstacle course. These avoid things, what do these avoid things do? If I don't have BC when you put this in a joke, wait a day or two, then I'll get it. Okay, fair enough. If not, hit.parent humanoid. Check, correct. I know there is a better way to do this, but it works. Actually, that is... He's moving the torso away from the... But the whole body... What's he trying to do here? Is he trying to kill you? Oh no, teleport. It's named a function tele. It teleports the torso one upwards. No, one across even. So if you step on there, presumably you'll teleport one, but then your head will teleport further, so you'll die. That might be something he didn't intend on doing, but that's very good. And let's have a look at the original script that we decided on before. What if more than one person touches the brick at almost the same time? In that case, if more than one person touches the brick at almost the same time, and then this is the ending brick. Well, we'd need to include a debounce in that case. It shouldn't happen because no, we have already got a debounce. If two people touch it at all the same time, the first function it runs will be this. You can't run two functions not at the same time. So this will run first. It will get the player. If player, then it will set into the winner. Actually, yes, you brought up a very good point there, because this will not. The main script will not detect it. So if two people touch it at the same time, then actually the second person who touches it will get the winner, because what will happen was the first person will be set to the value, and before the main script detects that the winner has been set, the second person will be set to the value as well. So we need to include what's called a debounce there. So I'll go into that now. What we're actually going to do is basically we set a variable to true start. So I'm just going to name the variable debounce, because that's the standard name for these things. Doesn't really matter what you name it. So basically, what we're going to do now is make sure if the function is run, it cannot be run if this section is run. So remember, this section only runs if the thing that touches actually player. So basically, we need to make it so that it only ever runs once, it can't run twice. So all we need to do here is check if debounce is true. We don't really debounce is actually a bad name, because it's not full debounce. We're just basically disabling this part of the script once one person's touched it. So actually what we're going to name it is local. We could do a different version of a check for this. We could just check whether script.parent.winner actually has a value. Let's see. It starts off with, as you can see, has no value. So actually we're going to do that version. We don't need a full debounce because we only want it to stop we want it to stop completely once the first person. So we're going to go script. So it's only going to run if the winner has not already been set. And to do that, we can either do it two ways. So it starts off as nil. If the winner hasn't been set, the winner.value is nil. So we can either do, if it's nil, we could do, but that's not generally the best way of doing things. At least if you're in the scripters forum posted there, you'll know that people hate that. So what most people prefer is just doing this and not basically this is equivalent to what I just did, except not checks whether it's false as well, whether it's not false even. So I believe I covered not in my if statement tutorial as well. So although this script is pretty much the same as the script that we had before, and he's added these avoid scripts in, which because you've pointed out that the brick has touched the brick at almost the same time. Because you've pointed out that, which I'd forgotten about last time, and you fixed a bug with our game at the moment, you're going to get 1,000 Robux for this. Well done to you. So, when the video goes up, just send me a message, and I'll with a link to a T-shirt if you have Roblox Club, and then I'll give you the 1,000 Robux. I have 30,000. Don't worry. So now we're going to actually insert it as a minigame. I'm going to actually delete this one and copy this one into it because we've fixed the glitch. Oops. Paste into. So now it's going to have, remember we decided it's going to have a random number. So hopefully when we join, I can't be bothered to change the script, so I'm just going to have to see if it is actually random. So let's go play solo and see what happens. Teleported. Oh, it's this one. Never mind. We're also going to have a message displaying something. The minigame is this, obviously at some point, and the minigame name will be what's this minigame called? Jumps. So hopefully it's going to be jumps this time. Ready? Come on, jumps. No, it's not going to be jumps. Oh. I've no idea why it decided to print 3. Must have done something last game. Printed 3 again. It would have been easier just to force the other minigame with the script, probably. Okay, attempt to index local player a number value. So we've got a glitch in the script. Oops. I must have touched something. I obviously haven't positioned it correctly. So let's go in. Something must have gone wrong with this. It's not actually in the script where the thing has gone wrong. In this main script, what line was it on again? I forgot. I'm trying to index a player when it's a number value though. I'm assuming it's something to do with these values here. Yes, winner in your version, winner is an integer, which is definitely not the case, but I'm just going to replace that now. We need it to be an object value, remember, because you can't set a player as an integer. So we're going to set an object value. We're going to name it like that now. And now we're going to try again, this time forcing it to be. So what I'm just going to do here is it's going to. Which one of the minigame that would be? Actually, I don't know which one it will be. Screw it, I'm just going to do a random. Nah. We're just going to comment this bit out quickly, and minigames equals. What's it called? Jumps. This is the only minigame. We're going to obviously change it back after just so it's. Oops. So now let's see, it teleported me somewhere. My head didn't seem to fall off, which was weird, because I thought it would. Teleport me, go. I haven't positioned it correctly either, it's up there somewhere. Go. Okay, so if I jump over this, And now we proceed on to our scripting tutorial for today, which will be covering how to make a shop for a minigame. So what we're going to be making is just a simple button that when you click it, it gives you an item. Make sure the item stays with you when you respawn, and deduct some cash if you have it. Also in this tutorial I'll be covering global variables. So in our main script we can't really do anything to add anything into the shop, because the shop's going to be separate parts. So you're probably not actually aware of how to make a part be able to be clicked and detect when it's been clicked and what player clicked it. An error occurred while retrieving this data. Let's go to another one. There we go. So we're just going to insert the part. This is going to be our beautiful shop. So we're going to position it perfectly, forget to anchor it, insert a script. So this is going to be our fully functioning shop here. So as you can see, I've inserted a trowel into lighting, because that's the most useful tool you ever need in the middle of a minigame. So to start with, we need to work out how to detect it's being clicked. There are two ways of doing this. One of them is to use a tool or hopper bin, and whenever you select the tool, you can then detect when you've clicked, and then you can detect what part you've clicked and if the parts are... It'll be far too complicated just for a simple shop that you need to click on. You don't even need to click very many times just in the actual game. Just the only time you're ever going to need to click is if you're finding a tool which is already made, or if you're using a shop. You don't need to have a... It's not like a point and click game or some first person shooters where you need to click at other places, so we're not going to use a tool. The second way to do it is going to be using a click detector. Now click detectors are special items which if you insert them into a part, whenever you mouse over the part it will fire an event. Whenever you move your mouse away from the part it will fire an event. Your cursor will also turn into this click item instead of the this icon when you move your mouse away from it, and it also has obviously an event that fires when you click it. So hopefully you all remember what events are. Events like touched, player added, we've done them before. We're going to look at the object browser to find out what the event is called for this. So if we look up the click detector, we'll find that it has the same events as normal, change, shadow, blah 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 blah. Doesn't have touch, obviously it's not a part. It has these three events: mouse click, mouse hover enter, and mouse hover lead. It'll also give descriptions of these events. So we're going to be needing to be using is called mouse click. So we're going to click on here and go with a description. The mouse click event is fired when a player clicks on the parent part of click detector. So the parent part of click detector will be the part, obviously. The argument provided is always of type player. So the argument is player who clicked. So that's pretty obvious. The argument in our event is going to be the player that has actually clicked on the parts. It didn't used to actually have that as a matter of interest. It's going to have as a matter of interest, otherwise it fits for your information. Or if you're interested, that would be better. Anyway, the player who clicked didn't used to be there, but is now. It's very useful. So it didn't also have to have these two events as well. Player who hovered. So we're going to be inserting a click detector. If you can't remember what any of these events do, don't forget to go back to my events tutorial. We cover that in entire tutorial on events, and then another one on events arguments. We're going to be inserting a click detector, which is here, and so move it into our part. And so now we're going to be setting up an event. We're going to be using an anonymous function for this event because we don't need to actually create or define an actual function. You probably don't know what that means. I did cover it briefly in the admin commands. It can also be called a nested function in this situation. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to set up the event as normal. Script.parent.clickDetector :connect, and instead of linking or referencing a previous function, so remember we could create another function like up here and then have this, but instead of doing that, we don't need to do all of that. It doesn't look any more organized. Instead we can just, it doesn't really matter which one you do, but I prefer creating a function individually in here instead of linking to another function. So what we're going to do here is actually just create a function. Doesn't have to have a name, has the argument, remember, the player who clicked. So the player who clicked is going to go in here, and then we can just create the function as normal. So we know that it's always going to be the player because it's supplying us an object of type player. The argument provided is always of type player. So it's always going to be players. We don't need to check whether it's a player like we're doing in other scripts. But what we do need to do is check whether he has enough money. Now, the money that he has is in his leader stats object, which we just did via the leaderboard. So we're going to be using an if statement, if player, and inside player there will be the leader stats, and we named it money, and value will be the actual money. Don't forget the value, otherwise it comes up with a strange error. You'll forget what the error actually means, and it will be all confusing. Make sure you add value. Value is the property that has the number, not the object. The object is not a number. So we're going to be just create a variable first up here, which we're going to make a local variable. And this is an interesting subject. Well, it could be an interesting subject if you're interested for this, but what I'm going to explain to you now is why you should probably always use local you should use local variables all the time, basically, because even if local variables are not actually local. So for example, remember what local ones are local to the block they're in. So if I create a function here, this will be for the entire script. Anywhere in the script can use this half it's defined. If I did this, and then only in this function will that be available. But how they actually work, if you type hi, if it says that if you just create a variable without using local, whenever you reference something without using a local before it, let's just go right. If you say hi equals 1, what it does, the script will go because with hi, if you don't put a local variable in front of it, you could mean anything. You could mean you're trying to set an existing variable, you could be creating a variable, or you could just be trying to read a variable that's already there. So what the script will have to do is hi already created, is hi, what are you trying to do with, well, is hi already created, what are you trying to do with it, so I'm trying to read it, but I'll have to figure out all that stuff. It basically searches through a table in... You don't need to worry about that. It basically just tries to find out whether hi has already been created, and then it will. And if it has, then it will just create the variable for you. No, if it has already been created, it will just set the value. If it hasn't been created, it will set the variable. But if you put a local in front of it, it skips all of that big step, and in fact just instantly creates a variable, because you never use local. If you don't go if local cost equals 1, you just go if cost equals 1. So local variables are more efficient in general. So we're going to set the cost for this item to 50. So if the player's money is bigger or equal to the amount of money it has in it, then we're going to subtract the money. So we should probably create a variable first, actually. Local money equals player leader stats can't type today, money, and if money.value, if money.value, then we're going to subtract the cost. Oops, we typed 50 instead of cost there. Money.value equals money.value, whoops, cost, and end. So just going to put in the ends. You notice I have to put a bracket here to close this bracket up here, seeing as we're not in a normal function. We are actually creating it inside the connect argument. So now we need to clone the object into the player's backpack. So we're going to set the object. Just going to set it in a variable here for ease. Local object equals. I've put it in lighting, as you can see. If we put it in workspace, or anywhere in workspace, even if it's inside this part, we'll just cut and paste it in here. What's actually going to happen, it's going to appear in workspace. So if someone ever walks over it, or if someone blows it up, it's going to disappear, and the script will break. If someone walks over it, for example. So actually what we're going to do, or they'll get it for free as well. There are ways of getting around that. For example, we could clone it as soon as the game starts, and then whenever we give it to someone, we'll clone the clone into their backpack, but that's generally not the best way of doing things. Instead, we're going to leave it in lighting. Zoom in on this, and so game.lighting is called linked trowel. So now we can just simply clone the object and set its parent to the player's backpack. So the player has his backpack, but the backpack doesn't stay when you respawn. As soon as you die, you lose everything that isn't in your starter pack or starter gear that's in your backpack. So what we actually need to do now is make sure that whenever the player respawns, he is given the item back. Now, what can we do for this? Well, to detect when the player is respawned, there's an event called character added, which you can use on the player. So what we could do is, in every part from the shop, we could use character added, and then check whether the player has already bought the item and all of that stuff. But instead, what we're going to do, seeing as I need to teach you about global variables, is I'm going to actually just create one character added event, which is actually going to be more efficient because one event is always better than 50 and how many items we need in the shop. So we're going to create one character added event in our main script. So we're going to function character added. So it's basically exactly the same as a player added except with the character. So it fires whenever the character is added. The argument is the character. And so inside this, well, we need to set up the event first. So to set up the event, we can just do player.character added. The character added event is in the player object, so we can only use the character added event inside the player. We can only set up or connect the character added event inside the player event. Actually, what we're going to do is give this one two arguments. So I'll do the same method as I did in the admin command tutorial and create a function, a completely new function here with the arguments character, because that's what character added has, and inside this function, then call the function character added with the arguments both of the character and the player, because we've got the player here. So then this function up here will have both of them. And so now we can check. So I'm now going to explain global variables. So global variables are when you can access a variable that's defined in one script, defined in any other script except in local scripts in another script. So the way you can do this is by typing shared or _g something. So basically in the environment, I haven't gone into this, you shouldn't really need to know about this ever until you're doing much more complex stuff. The environment that the Roblox game runs in is, it will have a table called shared and _g, and in this you can basically, I'm not going to go into this detail, in the shared table, well, if you type shared dot something equals something, and then anywhere else in any other script, you can then type shared. Say if I typed print shared dot something, it would print what I shared, what I set it to in this one. The same, exactly the same with _g. Exactly the same. Then I just have to say _g dot something. There isn't really any difference, but I think Roblox said they preferred us to use shared, and shared is easier to type, so I'm going to use that. Oops, don't delete that. So what we can do is actually, the way this is going to work is that we can create, the first time that the character is added, we're going to create a table in the character, well no, a table in the player. Well, it's not actually going to be inside the player, it's going to be linked to the player, a table of the player that is going to list every single object that the player has acquired from the shops and give it to him when he's respawned. So it's going to check whether he has got it in here. Now this sounds slightly confusing, so I'm going to show that to you. So when the character is first added, we're just going to check whether there is a table already set up for the player. Well, actually no, we're going to do that in player. We're going to set up the table in player added. So as soon as the player added, we're going to go shared dot. Well, this is. I'm getting confused with myself. At the beginning of the script, we're going to set this up. Okay, so we're going to go shared dot items equals, and we're just going to make it a blank table. So this shared dot items thing is going to be a completely blank table that we're going to insert items into when we have. Well, we're going to insert items into. We're going to insert items under player. I can't really explain it. I should be able to explain it, but can't be bothered. So basically, when the player added, we're going to just insert in this another table. Shared dot items equals player. Well, shared dot items. Sorry about this. So we're going to put the key as the player. We can set the key to anything, so we can easily set the key as the player object like this. So now anywhere else when we access shared items, well, if we then anywhere else we did shared items player, then we can access the thing that we're just going to set that to. But because it's going to have more than one item that such person may have bought, so we're going to make this another table. So shared items player equals dus. So that's going to equal just a random table again. Now this is where we're going to be able to do something. In our other shop script, we can, because we know the player, we're going to insert a value into this table. So we're going to go shared.items player table.insert shared.items player, and we're going to insert something into this table in this script and in every other shop script. So in fact, this is what's going to happen. Shared dot items, we called it, and in brackets, or in squared brackets, remember, player, we're going to insert something into this table. So the thing we're going to insert is the object we want him to get whenever he respawns. So the object is object. We can either insert a clone of the object, but that would mean that we could insert the clone. I'm not sure what the advantages of inserting a clone would be, or we could just insert it like we've done here and then clone it whenever we. That would be better, I think. I'm not sure what the difference is, because we're going to have to clone them anyway when we actually give them to him in the first place. So table.insert shared.items player object. So now whenever the player buys an item in this table that we've just created, we only create it when a player is added, not the character. So that's when the person first joins the game, this table set up. When he buys an item, the item that he's bought is going to be stored in this table. So whenever he respawns now, we're now going to check like this through the table for I in pairs. So we're going to go in an in pairs loop. We're not going to have an I, we're going to have an underscore. We're going to have an I because it's probably easier for you to see with my screen recording software. For I v in pairs do, well, we want to loop through the player's table. So we're going to loop through this table, and if it's an item, actually we're going to make sure it's only items that are inserted. So we don't have to do any checks. We're going to the only things that we're ever going to insert into the table are going to be items. So v, which is going to be the item, remember, clone parents equals player.backpack. So that's basically all we're going to need to do. So I'll run you through what this does again. When a player first joins the game, is creating a shared table which can be accessed in all scripts with the key as the player object and the value as a blank table. first buy anything in the shop, or not first, whenever we buy anything in the shop, in that table we're going to access by using the key of the player, we're going to insert the object that he's bought, which will appear whenever he respawns. Then, whenever the character respawns, it inserts the object by looping through everything in this shared table. It inserts the object into his backpack, so then he can always get the object. Now, I think that's it for this. I think that's it. For this tutorial. In future tutorials, we can also make it save what the character has bought once the player has even left the game with data persistence. And I know a lot of you have been messaging me about wanting to go to data persistence tutorials. So if this, I'm now going to test this just to make sure it works. I'm going to press play here first. Connect is not a valid member of ClickDetectors, so I've missed out something there. I have a feeling I know exactly what I've missed out, and hopefully everyone should have noticed this. Script dependent. Why have we tried to connect to click? We need to connect to the event, which is mouse click. Press save, press play. Mouse click is not a valid member of ClickDetectors. Apparently it's not called mouse click then. It must be mouse click. Delete the ED on the end. Press play. No errors, that's good. Tools, test, play solo, and now we're going to see if it works. But first of all, we're going to have to win a minigame, because we don't have any money to start with, do we? Where's the leaderboard? There we go. So this won't work. We won't get any item because we haven't. Oh, well, I need to click it first, but we haven't got any money, so it won't get any item. I'm going to see if I can try and complete this jumping puzzle without falling off the edge or being teleported back to the beginning, so I'll actually get enough money. Yes, I did it. Oh, I died anyway, but it's all good. So enough money, we only said it to cost 50. So, as you can see, when you move over, it has the click. We click it, ducks the money, and it gives us the. Oh, we've got another mini game. So now is perfect time to test. We don't test the item. But we appear to have broken the this script by jocking an item on it, so that'll going to be need to fix. We're going to jump off and see if it appears when we respawn. It should. We respawn, and we're given the item again because we inserted it into the table. So that's all for this tutorial. Make sure you can submit your own scripting showcase model to me, which gave you 200 Robux. You can just make any model that's to do with scripting that we've learned in these tutorials. If I feature it, you get 200 Robux, details in the description, or you can submit a minigame, which is by using the format that I've just shown. I've shown at the beginning of the script, it's in the last tutorials. Details are still in the description. 750 Robux if you've copied the same format, or 1000 Robux if you've done something special with the format, or changed bits, or done something different. I'll decide which one you get. So, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like as well, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.